You guys are watching NBA Now. I am Tom Downey. Alongside me is Harrison Graham. The NBA trade deadline, it's almost here. So we're going to take you through 5 teams that should be buyers during this year's NBA trade deadline. We begin with the Miami Heat at number 5.
Yeah, I put 5 teams together here, Tom, starting with the Heat, and there's certainly some other candidates as well that we won't get to here, but these are the 5 we're focusing on. Miami, here's the deal. For about a month now, they've made it very clear they want to add another piece around Jimmy Butler. Now, their salary cap is tricky. They've got a couple of bad contracts, and James Johnson and Dion Waiters, both those guys are through next season as well. Johnson has a player option, but he will absolutely opt in for $16.5 million because he basically doesn't play. He will opt in. He will secure the bag for next season. Here's the thing, though. They do have young trade assets, and it's all about building around Jimmy Butler, who has been terrific this year. 20 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. Yeah, he's not shooting the ball well from the outside.
It's okay, they got other guys to fill that role.
Yeah, that's not his game. I think just more importantly, Tom, the intangibles he has brought to that franchise. They've had a lot of young talent for a while, but they haven't had that veteran leadership since Dwayne Wade left. You look at some of these young assets, Tom.
It's really impressive, and the pleasant surprises that they've emerged. I mean, Kendrick Nunn, I know he kind of got
They found him out of nowhere.
Yeah, he got some pre-sign, but he was not a guy they were expecting. I think for the Heat, it becomes look, you have a promising young center in Bam Adebayo. You love Kendrick Nunn. You love Tyler Hero. Do you actually want to even move on from those guys, or do you think those are promising young players to build on? I mean, Tyler Hero is shooting almost 40% from deep. Duncan Robinson is at almost 44. It's insane.
I think Adebayo and Hero are pretty close to untouchable. I think they would move Hero for the right thing, but Adebayo, the year he's having, they trade Whiteside, boom, this guy's an all-star. That's how good he has been. Maybe they would move Nunn. Duncan Robinson's 25. He's the oldest out of these group, 25 and younger. I think they'd be willing to move him for the right trade
25 to 35-year-old Duncan Robinson, I think is going to be the exact same player.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's going to be a 42% three-point shooter for the rest of his career. That's who he is. But my point is maybe that's why they're willing to move on from him, because he's not really improving a ton at this point. He's kind of who he is. Now, these are some guys the Heat have been linked to. Drew Holiday, who's emerged in the last couple of days. Now, he's made it clear in his camp he wants to stay with the Pelicans. I don't think they'll move him, but I think if they got overwhelmed, like if the Heat traded 2 of those young players and a future pick or something like that, you may have to trade Drew Holiday, because that's some good young talent.
If Holiday were to actually be on the market, he'd have some pretty massive interest, because teams like the Heat, even the Denver Nuggets, would love to get him. Yeah,
no doubt.
He's the perfect fit.
I think the Chris Paul thing has slowed down for 2 reasons. 1, OKC's better than we thought. And 2, I don't think the Heat want to bring on that big of a contract. Covington, he's a fit for everybody. Gallinari, I think, would provide some good shooting in Miami, but you kind of already have that as well, and you've got younger players who can do it, so I certainly wouldn't trade high for Gallo. And then Andre Iguodala, I don't think they'll trade for him. He's more of a buyout candidate for the Heat if he becomes available, if the Grizzlies can't find a trade and they want to buy him out after the trade deadline. But these are some guys they've been connected to over the last couple of weeks.
All right, so what do the Heat need to do to become title contenders? They're clearly among the best in the Eastern Conference right now.
Number 3 right now, I believe, in the standings.
They're tied with Boston there. Yep. But they're still about 8.5 games back of the Bucks. So what do they need to do to take that next step forward?
How do you close that gap? I mean, that is the question. Can you add a guard that can score, like a volume scorer, like a Derrick Rose maybe? Can you get him in there? I don't know if he really stylistically fits. The one thing they don't have is a true point guard. They have Goran Dragic, but he's older. He is having a nice year. Can you upgrade there possibly? I'm not sure that guy is out there. They're a very good team and a really good story, and Eric Spoelstra might win Coach of the Year with what he's done with some of these young players, but they are missing what you feel like a piece to be a true title contender.
All right, now that's what the Heat need to do. What you guys need to do is subscribe to us on YouTube. I see people already typing in their S's for being subscribed. Avanish, Kevin among them. We will be live during the NBA trade deadline. Every single trade that goes down, we will discuss it. We'll break down all of the buzz around the trade deadline as well. So hit that big red button and subscribe today. We're going to have the best NBA trade deadline show for you guys, and as we always do, we'll have a bunch of fun in the process as well.
By the way, real quick, I saw someone say Aldridge to the Heat. I do like that fit.
I don't know if the Spurs will do it, though.
I don't know if the Spurs will do it. I don't know if the Heat can trade enough, but I do like that fit.
All right, moving on now to number 4, the LA Lakers. As well, of course, they're one of the teams trying to make a deal here.
Yeah, and the reason I don't have them higher is because I don't think they necessarily need to make a trade to be, a title contender. They're already that. They're number one in the Western Conference. And number two, the reason I don't have them higher is they don't have a ton of assets, Tom.
Yeah,
they don't have
tough.
picks they can trade. The cheaper contracts they have are guys like Quinn Cook who aren't having great years. Is Taylor Horton-Tucker going to bring you anything? He's been in the G League this
Not
year.
in a trade.
That's not going to get you much in a trade. They're just limited as far as assets go, which is why I think they're more of a buyout team.
Iguodala.
Andre Iguodala, yeah.
Excuse me.
I don't know who said that, but Iggy to LA certainly feels inevitable if the Grizzlies can't find a trade. I will outline these two guys, though, starting with Derrick Rose. He would be an ideal fit. That kind of volume score off the bench. Rondo's been bad this year. Their backup point guard play has not been very good.
He's not a scorer.
Cook hasn't been very good for them. They need a guard who can score, and Derrick Rose, out of nowhere.
The resurgence of Derrick Rose is awesome.
It's one of the most under-talked about stories in the NBA the last 2 years. He's been fantastic. This guy got cut by the Jazz 2 years ago, was out of basketball, and now he's averaging 18.5 points per game. He's been very, very good. I just don't know if they have enough to pull off a trade for Derrick Rose.
So will the Lakers end up making a trade? Type Y for yes or type N for no. Gut decision here. What's your prediction?
I'm going to say no, and I'm going to say they add either Andre Iguodala in the buyout market if he doesn't get traded, or maybe a Darren Collison if he decides to come out of retirement. I think that's an option. Jamal Crawford's still hanging out. I don't think they will make a trade unless it's Kyle Kuzma for Bogdan Bogdanovic.
It's been a really nice piece for the Kings, who really aren't going anywhere, Harrison.
Yeah, Sacramento's in a tricky spot too because, they'd like to keep him, but they just paid Buddy Hield. They got to pay De'Aaron Fox and Marvin Bagley in the next couple of years. Paid Harrison Barnes as well. You can't pay everybody. Bogdanovic is going to get decent money on the free agent market next season. Yeah, he's restricted and Sacramento can match. They can't pay him $18 million per year, so why not trade him, get Kyle Kuzma, a young player to go with that young core? I think that makes some sense there.
Now, today's show is brought to you by BetDSI. So if you want to bet on NBA games, March Madness also coming up in a little bit here, head over to BetDSI. It's chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code NBA120. And, of course, they've got not just NBA title odds, they've got Eastern Conference odds and Western Conference odds. It's the best place to bet on the NBA. Head over right now, chatsports.com/bet. It'll take you right into the BetDSI site. And use that promo code NBA120 for a 120% deposit bonus. We go from one LA team to the other one, the Clippers, Harrison.
Yeah, and, I still think the Clippers fully healthy are better suited for the playoffs and to make a deep run. I think Kawhi and PG and just that depth of that bench with Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell, I just like what they're doing. But if they add one more piece, I think they become title favorites. I think one more legitimate piece, and I don't mean a superstar. I mean a guy like Marcus Morris who they continue to be connected to. A solid role player that either can start or come off the bench, bring you some defense, bring you some scoring. A guy like Morris, a guy like Robert Covington, someone of that ilk. They add a nice player like that. To me, they become the favorites to win the NBA championship.
They've had a fantastic year so far. Maybe not quite as good as expected, but Morris would be a fantastic addition to this roster.
Yeah, absolutely. The year he's having with the Knicks is kind of ridiculous. His career high across the board, pretty much 44% three-point shooter, and that's on a bad team. He's going to get great looks if he plays with the Clippers, with Kawhi, with Paul George, with the attention those guys get. Lou Williams is an excellent distributor off that bench. I think he would be great with that second unit. Lou, Will, Harrell, and Morris coming off the bench. Are you kidding me? That would be a lethal second unit. I think he would be excellent with the Clippers.
You put together this trade package for Marcus Morris earlier. I think it works for both sides. Clippers get an upgrade with Morris and Robinson in a first. That's value, but it's not like Clippers going to use this in the
How
same
stubborn
way.
are the Knicks? That's the question here. Look, his contract's done after this year. Yeah, maybe he wants to come back to the Knicks. You can still go after him in free agency. Get a first-round pick while it's sitting there. The Clippers have basically said, we'll give you a first-round pick, so why not take it if it's out there? Yeah, it might be the 30th pick, but he's a free agent after this year. The Knicks need to acquire assets. I would pull the trigger on this trade if it's on the table.
We've gone over those two LA teams, so which one is better right now? Lakers have the better record. The head-to-head, though, a little bit different. More in favor of the Clippers. C for the Clippers, L for the Lakers. Let us know in the comments section. What do you think?
I think the Lakers are more fun to watch. I think they're more entertaining. They're on TV more because they got LeBron, they got AD. Showtime Lakers are back, if you will. They're certainly going to be playing inspired basketball the rest of the season with all the Kobe Bryant stuff. But I still think the Clippers are better suited for the playoffs, and if they add one more piece, Tom, they're just so deep. They go 10 deep. The Lakers bench struggles at times mightily.
The Brown Gamer he's putting in quite a few C's in there, but I think I see more C's than I see L's, so keep your votes coming. As we move on to our number 2 team that should be a trade deadline buyer, the Philadelphia 76ers, Bryant asks, any Sixer trades?
Yeah, and what's so shocking here, Tom, is for the most part, it's been pretty quiet. I read today they're not going to trade Al Horford, which, I mean, yeah, he brings a lot to the table, but if you can upgrade at another position, he's an aging player, and they gave him a max contract, which I kind of thought that was bizarre. They're really missing J.J. Redick.
They missed that shooter.
I really don't think people realize what he brought to the table for them, and when the Pelicans sign him, they're like, no big deal. They lose him and Jimmy Butler in the same offseason. That's a big deal. Sure, Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid are 2 terrific young players, but they need help, and neither of these guys are bringing you a lot from three-point shooting. They just don't shoot the ball well from the outside. They miss Redick. They miss Butler. They could really add a three-point shooter like a Robert Covington or someone like that, or a Danilo Gallinari, I think would be a good fit there, someone who can create his own shot and shoot the ball from deep as well. Are we still trusting the process? I mean, it's been, 5 years of this now? And they're, the last 2 or 3 years, they've kind of been the same team, somewhere, around 4 or 5 in the Eastern Conference.
I am curious to see what the Sixers end up doing here. And let's say hypothetically, because I saw this in the comments a lot, that they need to trade one of them. That's been a popular theory. If you have to go that route, who are you keeping? Simmons or Embiid? Pick one.
And there's a deep rumor going around NBA circles that if they don't break through this year, they will split this duo up. I'm not sure if I'm ready to go that route, if I believe it, but it would not shock me because they've been in their prime for a couple of years now, and it just has not clicked to the level you hoped it would. I still think it's Embiid, even with the injury concerns. I just think he's a better player for today's NBA. Until Ben Simmons at least commits, is willing to shoot the ball from 3, he's going to have limitations. That's just the bottom line. I like the guy. He's excellent in the open court, but you can play 10 feet off him, and that's a problem when a team forces you into half-court offense.
Keep your votes coming. S for Simmons, E for Embiid. We'll also mention some possible trade targets. A common theme here, wings and shooters.
Yeah, I mean, they just got to... You need a shooter. I throw Alec Burks on there. People are like, Alec Burks, he kind of bounced around. Dude, he's having a great year for the Warriors. 16 points. He's shooting almost 40% from 3.
The perfect trade piece.
And it probably won't cost you that much to get him. That's the thing. I like that idea a lot. Bogdanovich is another name we've talked about. Gallinari could be an option, although I think OKC is leaning toward keeping him at this point. And then, again, Covington, you can throw him on every team and looking to add a piece, but
the reunion.
They just need a shooter on the outside. They just don't have enough of it, Tom.
You mentioned Burks not being that expensive. Well, if you use our link for Pro Flowers, chatsports.com/flowers, you'll save some money on some great Valentine's Day gifts. 15% off, not just flowers, but all gifts as well. Like, for example, their cookie bundles, which I highly, highly recommend. Head over to chatsports.com/flowers. One more time, it's chatsports.com/flowers. It's in the comments. It's in the description as well. Do it right now. That way it's out of the way. You don't forget. You stay out of the doghouse, and you don't have to worry about doing the rush shipping either. It's chatsports.com/flowers.
The worst is getting off work on February 14th and trying to rush to the store.
Where there are no flowers.
There's nothing left. So don't do that. Take advantage of this deal today. If you sign up today, or if you go ahead and make your purchase today, don't worry. It'll ship on Valentine's Day. Don't worry about that.
Moving on now to number 1, the Houston Rockets, who are actively shopping Clint Capela, as mentioned earlier on the channel, looking to add a wing and a center.
Yeah, so the idea the Rockets are trying to do is, okay, we like Clint Capela. He's a good player for us. We appreciate what he's done. Can we trade him, bring back a center that's maybe 75% of him, and add a wing in the process? I think that's the goal there. Houston is a desperate franchise that has made a ton of moves in recent years in order to try and win a championship. They added Russell Westbrook this offseason, traded a bunch of draft capital in the future to do so. These two guys are going to put up numbers. Do they have enough around them to get over the top? Can you win with these two guys leading the ship? I think that's a fair question to ask in itself.
It's one we've asked for a while now.
Houston certainly believes that you can, but they're willing to do just about whatever it takes to try and bolster their roster, even as far as going to trade a guy like Clint Capela. A Robert Covington would make sense. in Houston, if they could bring him in there. They're trying to add any wing player that they can and bring back a center as well. I find it unlikely that a Capela-centered trade happens, but I think Houston has to do something because the current core is not going to win a title. You got to spice things up. I expect them to be very active at the NBA trade deadline. They will be big buyers, or at least try to be, in my opinion.
Only other really big they have is Isaiah Hartenstein, who hasn't played all that much this year.
When Capela's out, they play small.
And that's what Houston seems to love to do for whatever reason.
They actually did this the other night, Tom. Capela was out. They didn't play a guy taller than 6'6" the whole game. No one's done that in like 38 years.
Which I think is just absolutely reckless. But the Rockets lead the way of our top teams that should be trade deadline buyers at number 1.